bad and the weird. You either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris.
And I had no idea how to do an intro for this movie outside of the knife sound.
Shower, yeah. I got nothing. You could dress up as your mom.
No, I think I'm good. If you haven't guessed it, we're continuing our little micro sessions on Alfred Hitchcock and similar adaptations. We are doing 1960s Psycho.
What a great movie.
Yes, it is a huge turning point in Alfred Hitchcock's career.
And in movies in general.
Yes. So it is based on a novel by Robert Bloch, with screenplay by Joseph Stefano, directed by Hitchcock.
Of course.
Starring Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates, Janet Leigh as Marion Crane, and Vera Miles as Leela Crane, and is about a psycho in a forgotten motel.
There's not a ton that remained from the original inspiration.
Yeah.
But if the original inspiration of the original inspiration was very loosely Ed Gein's.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than how like Birds had left. They actually used quite a bit of the movie.
They did.
They had to change some stuff. But before we get into that, our sources for today's episode include the making of The Master's Shadow: The Legacy of Hitchcock with Truffaut, feature commentary with Stephen Rubelo, author of Alfred Hitchcock and the Making of Psycho, as well as Hitchcock by Francois Truffaut Revised Edition.
Of course.
And the reason we chose to do this out of order as well is Psycho is going to kick off a little bit of a mini arc that we have that's a transition between this classic movies and some of the true crime movies that we wanted to cover.
Yes, and I mean this one of the first psychological thrillers. Considered
the first modern thriller, because there's, to be fair, Hitchcock had done older movies.
Of course he had.
That had similar stylings, like especially like The Lodger, a story of the London fog from 1972.
Of course.
And then also before Hitchcock, there was 1931's M, as well as 1955's Diabolique. And even 2 years before, Hitchcock was still making crime thrillers like Vertigo and Rear Window.
True.
But the biggest separation between these early ones and Psycho is that it was a shift in style.
Very.
Where the movie changes direction mid-movie, which was relatively new.
Yeah.
But as well, it started to break the Hays Code, showing more sexually explicit content for the time. And while by today's standards, very tame, you gotta remember that this is coming out of like the very pure movies of if you had a couple together, even if they were married, because they weren't married in real life, they had to have separate beds.
This one kicks the freaking door down on that too.
Exactly.
First scene, in bed together, she is in her lingerie. My goodness. And on top of that, most people are familiar with the sexy codes that were implemented, but also violence, the amount of gore, the amount of immoral acts that your main characters were allowed to show. So like having her stealing money and going on the run, all of that would have been considered a little bit too much. So this movie really was like trying, I wouldn't say trying, because I think this is mostly just Hitchcock doing whatever he deemed was necessary for the story, but he was not taking them into account in any way.
Yeah, very, very much so. He was interested, he was initially interested because he noticed the popularity in low-budget horror flicks.
Of course.
And wanted to see if someone good, quote-unquote good, showing his ego, tried to make one on a budget. So,
which is also funny because he directed, but he also produced this film.
Yes.
And he had to, because when he first approached the company, saying, Paramount, saying, hey, would you be interested? They went, that sounds like a B movie. No, not really.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is he had to put his money up front first. And the reason he was interested in Psycho to begin with was the murder in the bathtub.
Yes, and there is a rumor, granted I couldn't find any like really hard evidence, but there's a rumor that Alfred Hitchcock sent his long-term assistant and right-hand woman, Peggy Roberts, out after having acquired the rights to the novel cycle, and had her buy as many copies as physically possible in hopes to have the surprise, be maintained.
Oh.
I can't tell how much of that was Hitchcock elaborating a little bit, because most people just could not find, hard sources saying that, Roberts bought a bunch of copies of this book.
Yeah.
But maybe.
And that's one thing I will say is some of how Hitchcock presents it, I think, is a little bit, I don't want to say it's disingenuous, but it is slightly off.
Yes.
Because, while this episode is loosely based off true crime and serial killers, as our next 3 episodes will be.
Of course.
I use quotations for this one because Ed Gein, who Norman Bates is loosely based off in the movie adaptation.
Yes.
Wasn't really a serial killer, as he only has 2 confirmed kills, so we can't 100% say.
I mean, technically that qualifies him.
But, also, Bosch didn't intentionally allude to Gein, only noting in the final chapter, but started writing before Gein's gruesome activities had been revealed and only discovered how close his story was to Gein's.
Yeah, he accidentally created Gein's.
Yeah, after the fact. So, little bit at the last chapter is okay, I'm kind of along the right lines of this.
Oh, for sure.
And it's surprising, too, because he only lived 35 miles away from where Gein was making nipple belts and human lampshades and spoons.
And his own little face mask. Yeah.
Woman bodysuit.
A full body, that's true. He had more than one. Yeah. If you really want to, you can find out how close you live to any serial killer at some point.
Yeah.
He just happened to get lucky that he also accidentally wrote one.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that made the, story of Alfred Hitchcock buying up all of the books of, Stefano's work is that at the time, so late 50s to 60s, the style of advertising a film was not too far off from what we see today, but a little bit more aggressive in the actors are the ones promoting your movie.
Mm-hmm.
They would do a whole circuit after done filming where they would do interviews and talk shows and radio shows, and that was really how you got the word about your movie out. There would be a trailer, there would be multiple movie posters that would be placed just about anywhere that you can stick a poster. But really, the actors talking about it was a huge deal, which is why so many people, especially from our grandparents' generation, had, a favorite actor that they followed, everything they did. This is why.
Or you were following your local movie reviewer.
Exactly. Alfred Hitchcock put a gag order on the production of this, so no one acting in it, no one producing it, no one working on it, which was his own special crew, were allowed to talk about it. Only Alfred Hitchcock promoted his own movie, which he did purposefully so that way no one would accidentally spill any secrets or give anything away.
Exactly. We don't have those famous leaks that we have nowadays.
There was no current Spider-Man to tell us the plot.
Yeah.
But at this point, it also ended up working a little bit more in his favor than he could have imagined, because he's already he has a bit of a following. Mm-hmm. People know that he's capable of doing really good stuff, and the movie poster came out with his production crew's name on it, which he had a very famous TV show that's who produced this, was his TV show crew.
Yeah, and Alfred Hitchcock by this point was a family name. His last big movie before this was North by Northwest, so...
Yeah, and granted, this is a hard right turn from North by Northwest.
Exactly, which is what was shocking about it on top of that.
And it's, again, to help cut the budget back, he went back to black and white, which, at this point, people were interested. It was a different and interesting way of advertising, but it did actually hype people up for this movie a lot more than a standard, especially scary movie would have. Kind of in the same way that a modern Blair Witch Project ended up getting people hyped up for it. Same kind of concept.
Yeah. 60s you still had color, but you still had enough black and white pieces still being made.
No, absolutely. But also, black and white piece with Alfred Hitchcock's name attached to it, along with the fact that he's the only one talking about it.
It makes it a little artsier. It's like
it felt very fancy.
It's like what you see nowadays outside of, say, Mad Max Fury Road, whenever they announce, we're going to do a black and white version. It feels like a little bit of a marketing stunt to, try and ramp up the artsiness of the movie.
Absolutely. And this was one of the first movies where truly the surprise twists and turns of this film really did get people.
Mm-hmm.
This was the talk of the movie industry for quite a while after it came out.
Very much so. So, Chris, before we dive into it, what are we drinking today?
Well, I should say shower water, but it's just tap water today.
I could have given it as shower water.
It's all from the same spot in this place, so...
Fair.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Tastes like Beaver Lake still.
Yeah. So, Psycho. I do like this opening credits because it's very suspenseful. It's cool and it's disorienting, especially compared to like how we talked about in The Happening, where they were very much tried to be Alfred Hitchcock in its styling.
This is what they were trying to create in that movie, and you can see the night and day difference.
Exactly.
This one has the camera work is really the core here, because this was one of the things that Hitchcock told everyone was the actors he trusted and the production crew he trusted. And he said, as long as the camera doesn't move, feel free to add or subtract or edit as you see fit.
Exactly.
And boy, he's a master at a camera angle.
Well, he also was trying to be experimental at the time, too. We didn't have the same stabilizing mechanics that we have now, so they wanted to do a zoom directly into the open window instead of having that hard cut like we see in this version or in the actual version that was released.
Yeah.
And that was because he was trying to be as realistic as possible. He wasn't trying to make this play of everything that was going on. So he was going for this level of realism. And we see this where, like, the opening could be a very modern opening that we would see in a movie nowadays.
Yeah, it does feel like it.
But it was so progressive for the era, like, especially showing her off her bazungas and,
Yeah, in that non-helpful bra she has, yeah.
Very bright white bra.
Oh my goodness, doing nothing.
But he's adding all these, like, little details into this opening where they haven't eaten sandwiches, so he's not, and he doesn't have to say that they've been screwing away the afternoon on their lunch break. But he's also trying to set her up to, while she has these desires, she's this goody two-shoes, one by the color of her underwear.
Yes.
And also she's trying to get their love into this semi-acceptable realm, because it's revealed that he has an ex-wife, he's living in debt, he's living poor, but she can't help but be in love with him. But at the same time, it's a previously married man.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, he has to be the one to propose. She can't buy her own ring in this time.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's planting all the seeds, it's getting all of your ideas in a row for you as the audience to almost come up with the ideas for the characters as the story progresses, which ends up working really well with our later twists, where we find that you can't have thought of every opportunity.
Yeah, where her crime initially feels like...
It feels passionate.
It feels passionate, but it feels like an attempted rejection of, or trying to shift away from what modern society is expecting from her.
Sure.
Because we see that also when she does return to the bank job, that they have the woman that she's working with who has medicine on hand because men give her headaches, and she also had it on their wedding night too, so... It
was gifted to her on her wedding night.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, really solidifying the 60s vibes here.
Yeah, well, also showing that marriage necessarily isn't the right path of choice, that, hey, maybe it's not worth the headaches that it's going to give you, but at the same time, she's still secretly... She really wants that.
Yes, it does do a nice job of showing off how, oh, well, I'm married and I hated it. I have essentially tranquilizers in my purse for just in case it's like her mother or her mother-in-law gave them to her on her wedding night. Like, okay, first off, we need to maybe have a talk about your husband.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's when she asks, like, oh, well, did anything happen while I was out? She gets told all of this incredibly trivial stuff, making her coworker feel almost silly in a way. Where it's like, oh, well, my relationship with this man would be different, because I'm not like her.
Yeah.
I'm more modern. I don't need tranquilizers. I don't have to be told when, oh, so-and-so stopped by to see if you were here. Oh, your sister called. She's going out of town. Like, it all feels so small compared to her dream of, like, oh, no, we're going to be married, and then we're going to go live big.
Exactly. But it's all this oppressive They just don't have the money to afford it all. And that's why when she's having to deal with the creepy advances of the old rich guy bragging off showing his money and happiness.
He's so weird.
He's a bit creepy.
He's very creepy.
But I think it works well, especially with Norman Bates' character.
Yes, who is very timid, very approachable.
And more attractive looking than this guy.
Yes. And also this guy talks at her, like both Bates and this client talk at her, but Bates talks at her in what feels like a soft, he talks about things that he's personally interested in to see if maybe she's also interested.
Yeah,
whereas this guy just is kind of bragging like, oh, your boss is going to be filthy rich here in a moment once I buy this thing.
Yeah, Bates on one hand is trying to find that emotional connection, something that's real, whereas this guy's like, hey, money buys you happiness. Like even his boss has to coax him away of like, hey, we have
to do stuff.
We have AC in my office. But this buying off of the unhappiness works because of a line, more specifically, where he's carrying around $40,000 in cash.
Yeah, just loose in his pocket.
But not just $40,000. He specifically says, I don't carry cash unless it's something I can afford to lose, which really hammers in that bait of an easy fix for her and her hubby's issues.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a line later in the movie that the detective brings up that I think is such a good line to really illustrate how different this guy is compared to Bates, and it's that lonely people usually are the one who talk nonstop when they meet someone. Mm-hmm. This guy is not lonely, and he's done nothing but not talk. Like, he barely lets any of the ladies get a word in. He barely lets his own the sales associate that's helping him, like, he barely lets him talk.
Well, and he's obviously either looking for a new wife or maybe a mistress.
I'm thinking mistress based off of how he acts, because he sits there and he doesn't even let his own sales associate, because she goes, oh, I'm not feeling well. I think I'm just going to go home and lay down, to her boss. Mm-hmm. And he goes, oh, that'll be fine. Your boss is going to be busy because we're going out for dinner. You're like, you just now decided that, good sir. Yeah. No one had talked about this. This is just you monopolizing people's time and attention.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also she seems a little clever initially with setting up her alibi and being in bed all weekend because she's not feeling well.
And honestly, this does feel like a very clever scheme because she mentions it to everyone the moment she walks in, despite the fact that we, up until this point, didn't know that she would be the one asked to take all that money to the bank.
Exactly. But we immediately know that something's up because the house, because she's home with the money and now in black undies.
Yes, we've shifted over.
And also, there's a lack of consciousness, which you mentioned, the trivial stuff of her sister going away for the weekend. Mm-hmm. The sister works well because her room is surrounded by family, so we know she's a very family-oriented person, mm-hmm. so that explains why she wants to have this marriage to this man. But also, her sister not being there could have been like a voice of reason that she would have had to fight against to make her escape.
Well, and later we meet her sister, and we learn that the two of them check in with each other constantly. Mm-hmm. And granted, this is the 60s, so it's not as easy as it is today. So her sister being out of town feels like this is a divine time to do this.
Yeah, and it's a little bit easier to skip town, create a completely new name, new family, couple towns over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or go to the big city. Because, this is one of those movies where the inner monologue works so well. Because we talked about how, what was it? Children of the Corn. Mm-hmm. How they said it was unfilmable because it was all in her head. A good chunk of this opening of this movie,
I would say the first 20 minutes is you getting a look inside of her head.
Exactly. She's building up this initial romantic idea of going to Loverboy, but because she runs into her boss and she's already set up this alibi if she's not feeling well, it forces her into a different route. But also, this scene is why this movie is technically a December movie and not a summer movie like they were planning.
This was a good point out on your part.
It's because there's still Christmas decorations up, so they were forced to make it a December movie.
And granted, this movie, with it being black and white, definitely helps. Uh-huh. Because yes, there's Christmas decorations. I'm not gonna lie, the first, like, two times I watched this, I wasn't paying attention to them. Because the moment she gets the money and decides to run, she starts becoming more and more anxious, and the attention span she has for certain aspects starts shifting. And so as an audience member, you're right there along with her. You're focused in on, like, the policeman or the police car. You're busy scanning the people looking for her boss, as opposed to observing the background.
Well, exactly, because now that she's seen the boss, and it's a different trajectory for her now, instead of just going to Loverboy and skipping town, building up the paranoia to be suspicious when a cop knocks. And what it happens is, it's that the cop serves as an idea to implant the idea of a motel, so that way she's not sleeping in her car, which helps her avoid further suspicion. But the way she's acting, like putting the documents to the side of the purse or the money to the side to hide it, and also just the way she acts is so suspicious, because deep down, while she might have changed the color of her underwear, she's still the same goody two-shoes girl at heart.
And you can also see the paranoia ideas running through her head from here on out. Especially with the cop and her boss, where you start seeing her boss's face in places where he isn't actually. Yep,
constantly looking back at the window behind her or the rearview mirror.
Yep, being convinced that the police officer is there because she stole the money, not because she is a damsel in distress and he's trying to see if she needs help.
She's just sleeping on the side of the road, which is...
I mean, in the 60s, it wasn't yet illegal.
Yeah.
It is in some places now. Don't just pull off on the highway anymore. The other thing that is interesting is she really has no excuse on why she has this much money. So in her mind, I can see part of her anxiousness, because we are still 10, 15 years away from women being able to open their own bank account without a man. So she just has a bank's worth of money that she can't do anything with other than just spend.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on where you are in the States as well, people aren't putting money in banks.
That's true.
We're not super far out from the Depression, so there are still people who went through that who are stockpiling money in, like, drawers and under floorboards and stuff.
That's true, but I can see why her paranoia starts to play out the way it does, because we get to the car dealership, she decides she needs a new car, she's been spotted in this one, she needs to change it up really quick, get a new identity, essentially, really fast. Yeah. She's going to pay with cash because she honestly can't pay any other way.
Well, and it's not just that. It's when she gets in, she's checking the paper to see if anyone has reported on her.
Which is, I mean, again, that paranoia just really seeps in, and the way this part is cut, the music tension also, throughout this whole movie, the music is phenomenal. But here especially, we start really building that tension with the not full orchestra. This was done with just a part orchestra to help save on some budget. But it's a theme that will plays 2 or 3 more times throughout the film. And man, it's a really tense music to go along with this.
Oh yeah, especially compared to, like, The Birds that has, like, almost no music to it.
Yes, a big deviation.
But, or setting the tone for it, because The Birds was the deviation. We're just doing the opposite
That's
order.
true, especially because, I mean, music was done by Bernard Hammerman, who had worked with Hitchcock many times before.
Yeah. But, to give perspective, while we look at 40,000, like, yeah, it's still a lot of money.
I mean, that's a lot of money.
If converted to inflation from 1960 to today, she's walking around with almost $500,000.
Yeah, I'd be nervous too.
Yeah. Just about 50,000 under.
Yeah, I was going to say, I knew people who worked, like, retail who had to empty their drawers at the end of the day, and they'd be nervous carrying around the roughly $2,000 from the front of the store to the back of the store.
Yep. Well, and on top of that, like, no wonder the cop's watching her. Like, here's how little she has any of this thought out.
She really just went with it.
She's trying to get that car rapidly.
He's watching her, though, which is the part I, like... But she made up her mind. She can't back down. It would look weird.
Exactly. She wants a new car with new plates, which the cop is sitting there watching is gonna know what the plates are, because they're still keeping records of plates. It's not like they're just gonna...
And he also can just literally, like, once she leaves, walk across the street, be like, so, give me all of the information on that woman.
Yep. And in a little bit of a way, when she's driving away, is she starts having these, like, it works a little with the self-doubt, but there's this little bit of confidence, like she's developing that maybe she can get away with this.
Yes. This is also one of the movies that I like best to explain the, like, the realism and stereotypes that women got for movies, especially early 60s and 50s movies, because these car dealerships are acting wildly by today's standards. Oh, she doesn't even get to explain why she wants a new car. She just pulls up. Oh, I need a new car and I need it right now. And he goes, oh, what's wrong? Is there anything wrong with the old one? She goes, no, nothing wrong with it. And he goes, oh, just tired of the look of it. Oh, women.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of this whole scene. This is the whole reason she manages to, like, essentially escape, is because a mechanic, a car salesman, and a police officer all look at this little blonde woman who is acting irrationally, buys a new car, cash, like, speeds away, looking like the sketchiest person ever.
Some might say she's acting a little hysterical.
One would think, but their first response is, oh, the poor pretty lady, do you think she's okay, or do you think someone's coming after her?
Yeah.
Not realizing they're the ones who are after her.
Or should be after her.
Or should be after her, but, like, in her mind.
To be fair, she's given herself some time because it's still technically the weekend. They're not going to check the banks until Monday.
No, which I think banks haven't changed that much since the 60s, so...
But it's Saturday and Sunday instead of, like, oh, they're checking it on Saturday.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, and I mean, $40,000 still takes 5 business days to process nowadays, so...
Yeah. Again, showing she's not thinking clearly, because she has 2 days. They're not going to report the money missing until way after the fact. I mean, to be fair, she thinks that her boss saw her. She doesn't
realize it, because this is the other part that really is very smart writing and directing, is we, as she drives away, hear the voices of the guys behind her preemptively reporting that they saw her to someone. As far as we know, though, this is all just in her head.
Exactly.
We're assuming that that's the conversation that's happening, but really, this is just what she's assumed, and why she decides she needs to drive as late as possible, as far as possible.
Yep, which allows her paranoia to be interrupted by the barely visible roads, forcing her to almost accidentally stumble upon the Bates Motel in the first place.
And what a motel it is.
Yeah, it's such a dynamic setup of the motel and then the creepy house inspired by House by the Railroad, as well as the Addams Family house.
And I won't lie, the Addams Family house is hard to shake. You can see it pretty bad, but it works in that kind of, oh, even nowadays I can see that this is just a not doing well motel. Yeah. It's got a weird creepy house, it's on a weird creepy road, the lights are barely on, you can barely tell that it's there.
Yeah. It's like what we would think of with Gothic movies.
Yes, very much so. And that uneasiness works well in this movie.
Yeah, Gothic meets the modernization of travel.
Yeah, and I do think that the styling choices of having this big grand manor with this fairly dilapidated motel out front matches well with the black and white film, the big epic score that's happening as this all happens, and then counterweighted against Bates himself, who is the most unassuming little man.
Well, and I think part of that is because when we first meet him, he's
mousy, kind of.
He's surprised and a little bit just like, oh, I wasn't expecting guests at all. Like, to the point where, like, he hasn't even been turning on the motel light.
Yes, that's true. This is probably the most action this motel has seen in a while. But
it's also a great setup of the isolation and being stuck with Bates. Of, like, this initially unassuming man of, like, okay, there's no reason to be afraid of the fact that he's the only one there. We've seen a woman in the window, so nothing bad could potentially happen.
And here's the other thing. We're now roughly at the 15, almost 20-minute mark of the film, and we know we have another hour and some left to go. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie, the very first time I watched this movie, I think in high school, I got because in my mind I said, well, a horror movie doesn't horror until the halfway point or later. And this is a classic one. Those usually wait and build and build and build and build until towards the end. So I was waiting for him to just keep getting creepier and creepier and creepier for the next almost 40 minutes in my mind.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to spend only about 5-ish minutes meeting Bates, talking to Bates, hearing Mother and then having to deal with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, well, and I think part of that is it's done in such a great way too, because Bates himself is, well, you said mousy. He is awkward in a little bit of a charming way. Of like
he's cute.
Yeah,
but he doesn't feel threatening.
Exactly, but like that's his charm, and like even while I know Hitchcock uses mirrors in this to like split personalities, especially with Marion.
Yes.
Dealing with her conflicts and like her hiding the money in the newspaper and whatnot, so she's still trying to figure out this all out. It's setting him up as this downtrodden, in a little bit of like the purity of not fully a choir boy, but like a little bit of a country boy in a way.
Yeah, and
not saying that country boys are. We know plenty of country boys, but
do. But no, it's the dedication or the supposed dedication to Mother, who from the get-go we only ever see a silhouette, but we hear the yelling, we hear the the supposed arguments happening, where this mysterious older woman feels threatening in a bit of a way to him. Yeah,
and to throw people off on top of that, he mixed multiple famous actresses' voices together, so that way the audience couldn't pinpoint exactly who it was, so that way they were thinking that, okay, she was alive.
Yes, absolutely. Had a lot of people going, still to this day.
But these scenes also set up this house as this very forbidden zone, even though it's like just within view, like,
and it looms.
Exactly.
It being up on that hill with that stupid staircase. It feels so far away and yet up in your business.
Very much so. And that's the thing that with like showing the mother is one of the biggest things that Hitchcock changed.
Yes.
With the movie is that from the book is that he felt the book cheated the audience because there's parts, and granted I haven't read the book, so I'm just going off of notes from interviews with Hitchcock. But Norman sits down to have conversations with his mother.
Yes.
So the book's able to cheat that a little bit, whereas a movie visually, because it's not in Bates's head, we have to physically see a bunch of this or has to see him talking. Like if he's talking to his mother in his head, we can see that on the screen. Exactly.
This movie also does a great job of having only either Bates or Mother having the raised voice at any time. So it truly feels like that abusive situation of like, oh, he's lashing out because he has a guest. You're embarrassing me. How can you say that in front of the guests? And I mean, this is the old-timey times. There's nowhere to see. The windows are open. You can hear anything, really.
Well, and on top of that, when we go from the Bates, the cabin number 1, which has a bunch of bird motifs and nature motifs within it.
Of course it does.
Letting her into the office is his little bit of way of like opening up, and then the tone shifts in the movie not just because it's usually a private location.
Yeah,
it's the architecture and the interior design or interior decoration of it, where it's still got all the nature of it, but it's dark, shadowy. There's taxidermy birds looming everywhere, and mainly birds of prey too.
Almost all birds of prey that are taxidermied, and they're taxidermied in very space-taking up style. So, like, they've got full perches, wings are expanded, and we move the camera from being eye level all the way down to almost hip height looking up for almost the entire scenes in this back room, where we now feel uneasy. Bates now starts to feel bigger. Yep. Not necessarily, like, space-wise, just taller. Kind of in the same way the house looms in the back and silhouettes. Bates starts feeling that way even when sitting in a chair, especially framed with the owl behind him.
And even in his dialogue, too, revealing that he's a bit of a mama's boy, but dropping that he really is thinking about it and being trapped, and, like, he's moved on from this sweet boy to maybe, okay, there's
some bitterness.
There's something going on with his mom, but it's that shift when she's looking at him and she's kind of slightly bad-mouthed his mother. And when she closes her mouth of like, oh, I've stepped on something I shouldn't have, because it's just such a way for like him to like shift the mood of it all.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially like his little chuckling at like talking about the stepdad of like the way he died, and just like, okay, there's a lot more going on here.
But here's the thing. This entire time, you feel uneasy. The music is not big and loud, but it still has that dissonance. We're filmed from an uncomfortable point of view. She's forced to sit and eat, which isn't really a very, protected stance. He has this looming owl, but the whole time, he manages to attempt to maintain that sweetness, that innocence, that docileness that he had when we first met him, and that little awkward, like, oh, well, I was about to have a sandwich, it's not fancy. He still manages to kind of maintain that, which is, I think, the real brilliant of Hitchcock in this movie, is because we are now, as the audience, if this is the first time you're watching it, you're set up to watch this man continue to spiral for what you feel like is going to be another half of the movie.
Exactly.
Not realizing that we're about to say goodbye to our main character.
Yeah, which I think it's the way he does it too is just mentioning that he knows how the inside of a mental institution and how they treat people, because this is the 60s.
Yeah, not well.
And I also appreciate the writing in this, that I feel if someone of lesser quality in writing would have done something along the lines of, sometimes you just go a little psycho, and it's like...
There would have been a line, especially nowadays. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the sequels and remakes. But the way that this is handled is so delicately.
Yeah, no, 100%. And even with her realizing that maybe she's not 100% safe there, she thinks
she can get one more night out.
Yeah, she does leave with a little bit of power that, okay, well, if this man in a tiny motel feels trapped, maybe I can turn it around for myself. To the point where, she is trying to she's even sat down to figure out how much she needs to pay back.
Mm-hmm.
And, so we have this intention that she is going to return, apologize, and say, hey, I lost it a little bit. All this is happening. And she could, at the time, probably leave it up to women's issues. It'll never happen again.
Honestly, yeah, it would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that she's lured into a bit of a safe haven in the same way the audience is, of she hasn't even spent one night here yet. He's being friendly, but she can she can deal with this all in the morning. Mm-hmm. Once this is all, once light is up, she's going to get a good night's sleep. Maybe she can get up earlier than him and just kind of ditch and hit on the road.
Exactly.
Just leave the money on the counter sort of situation. She's going to pay in cash anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Well, and on top of that, while she thinks she's going to be able to get away, not scotch-free, but
at least out of town.
Or get back to Phoenix.
It's...
when he's peeping on her with, honestly, a little bit of a comedically large hole.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But, okay, so I agree. The hole practically is way too large.
Yeah.
But from a movie-making standpoint, from a art standpoint, this scene looks cool.
Yep.
That light coming through and illuminating just his eyeball, the way that he kind of keeps getting closer and closer and closer to the wall, the way the camera then keeps getting closer and closer to him, as it all feels like it's a trap finally getting ready to spring. And
the house looming larger even in the background as we cut between stuff.
Every time.
But I do like that it's almost as if Crane seeing True crazy has reset her moral compass.
Yeah.
And that's why this shower scene starts off as it feels like a very cleansing of her burdens, that she's returned to her true self.
Yeah.
But
she almost seems pleased when she starts it. Oh, a hot shower. I will say, psychotic behavior for turning the shower on while you're standing under the shower head? Absolutely not. We turn that on before we get in the shower, because what if it's cold?
Yeah. Oh, we also forgot to mention this is the first flushing scene.
Yes. Okay. And we bring it up because, again, the code of the time before this, no toilets were flushed on scene. It was maybe implied. You would maybe hear water running for washing hands. The toilet noise was not included in movies.
It's dirty.
It was bad. And she flushes paper, but still.
Oh, man.
Still.
I would love to show these people
today's movies.
Well, like Dogma, the turd demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have lost their mind.
But, yeah, the shower scene is fantastically shocking. Even, I do wonder, because by the time I saw Psycho, I had known of it through my parents quite a bit. and through like watching reviews when I was younger and whatnot.
Honestly, this shower scene is maybe one of the most analyzed scenes of any movie of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not surprising that even if you haven't seen the movie, you've seen this scene somehow, some way.
Exactly. And part of it, I think for me, the reason this scene still sticks so strong is because as you sit there and you think about it,
yes,
there's no music, there's no bass drop.
No, there's no Kill Bill squeaking noises.
Yeah, there's no Friday the 13th.
And there's no overly gory noise to go with it either.
No, the only sound effect is the shower running, and it just lets the shock linger. And this works because the montage shots are the implied violence. Yes. Going back to how we talked about in Pan's Labyrinth, how Del Toro, while he showed the graphicness because he could,
yes,
he didn't show the in-between. He just saw the before and then the results.
And granted, we know that Hitchcock can go more graphic because we will see more graphic. But having that blood, even if it's not a lot, running down the shower drain, from, honestly, it goes for a long time. It's not even the last scene or the last little shots of this murder scene. The moment we start noticing the drain is when it starts happening. It's pretty powerful.
Oh, very much so. And like that, the other thing too is it was so heavily planned because Hitchcock planned every single swing to do it, whatever, to have maximum impact. And then on top of that, like, you couldn't show full nudity, and it works so well because, like, you get the sensuality of, like, where the knife potentially is going to go, but you never see it actually strike.
And here's the other thing. This is one of, I think, the best, quote-unquote, damsels in distress scenes. Because you genuinely feel like she is panicked, you feel like she cannot possibly win the situation. So her doing the classic 50s, oh no, help sort of hand poses, they work. You don't feel like it did in The Birds where it felt a little cheesy, a little bit like, oh, save me, save me. This one, even though you do not feel a panic version of horror like what we get with a lot of modern horror movies, you now get like this stillness, this quiet panic in this horror scene. Because you genuinely are like, well, no, this is how she dies. And it's a little shocking.
Oh, very much so, because it's set up as a crime thriller, not a horror flick.
Absolutely.
And even then, like, when Bates shows up and we see him scream of, like, oh, mother, what have you done? Like, I think...
Even if you know the twist of this movie, it still feels like you know the end, but you still get to enjoy the suspense for it all.
Yeah, and I think part of it, too, is because, one, I don't think a reveal like this would work as well today. One, because Psycho's come out, and two,
of course,
we've never seen both of these people at the same location.
It's a bit like I've never seen Batman and, Bruce Wayne in the same room.
Yeah, but part of what it is that for a 60s movies, we can associate the stereotypical gender roles of, oh, if it's going to be a serial killer,
it'll be the man.
It's either going to be the man or it's going to be, or like, actually, that's not the right way to put it.
It's either the butler or the husband.
We wouldn't expect mother and son to act the same way, or like their voices would have been swapped. So we were expecting kind of and
I mean, we were 100% assuming that it would be Bates to attack her, not Mother. We knew Mother was mean, we knew Mother was angry, but I think a lot of people would have assumed that that's why Bates attacked.
Yeah.
Like, and that would have been pretty, I mean, that's still pretty common, like, oh, he's a serial killer because he has mommy issues. Which, I mean, we find out the truth, but, like, it's a different way of taking it in this movie. And so it does feel shocking to be like, oh, well, I guess maybe I judged him a little quickly. Like, yeah, he's a little weird and awkward, but I guess I would be too locked up with my mean mother in this motel. Yeah,
and to the point where, because that was one of the big changes, is that, from my understanding, they had to change Bates from the book version because he was like this creepy little grimy man.
Yes.
And so because he is likable, and even though like a little bit creepy,
he's still a handsome guy, so you let him get away with it.
Not necessarily that. It's the fact that he picks up after his mother. Like
he does.
While his mother, as far as we know at this point, has murdered someone.
Yes.
He's still there to make sure that, hey, nothing happens to his mother.
Yeah, and I mean, as twisted as it is, it ends up being a bit of a redeeming feature for him, especially for the next, 30-ish minutes here when we start getting questioned, well, did she come by? Well, Mother maybe heard something. He does a lot to protect Mommy.
Yep. And I think there's a little bit of, reveal, too, of now Bates is starting to show up in mirrors. And also, in his mad dash to clean up, he doesn't really inspect the MacGuffin of the money in the newspaper. He just chucks it into the suitcase to sink into the swamp. And even, there's that little look of worry on his face in tension where the sinking stalls. And he's like, oh, shit.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I have loved about this movie since I watched it originally. Is he does panic just a little bit. He panics just a little bit, but not as much as the first couple times I watched this. I thought, man, I feel like for the first time I have to clean up my mother's murder, I would be worse at it.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's the thing. He knows to move the shower curtain to put the body on. He gets a shovel to help move everything. He remembers to pick up all her personal effects, but leave the room dirty is fine because he can come back and clean it tomorrow because he's a motel owner. Yeah. And that's what you do at a motel is you clean rooms. He doesn't have to think twice about putting all of her in the car and move it to a swamp. That would have taken a little bit more foreplanning.
Yeah, well, I think there's a little bit of comedy for me at least in the fact that when he's putting her in the car, he looks around if anyone's watching.
There's not been anyone in this motel for months.
Exactly. But it's that little bit of panic where he still has his senses of, while he is covering up, he still is aware that, hey, if something happens, it's game over.
True. But it implies that this isn't the first time he's had to do this.
No. And honestly, while our next micro view is going to be a lot more shit than this.
That's true.
I do think it would have been fun to do a comparison of this to the Korean film, The Quiet Family.
Yeah.
Or the weirdly musical remake of Happiness of the Katakuris.
Honestly, I can see it with Happiness, yeah.
Yeah, with having to bury people in a swamp.
Yeah, it's a little... different vibe, but yeah.
Yeah, very much so. But we get this almost ends the split of the movie of we have this part one and now we have this reset back to the crime story where our protagonist has been replaced by her sister Leela.
And honestly, I do think this is where one has a very interesting time watching this because we go from having one very strong main character to almost no main character.
Yeah, well, because it ends up getting split between the people who are left behind because we don't have a whole lot of time to develop Leela or Sam.
No, not at all.
Or any real relationship to each other, other than the fact that her sister and the lover are missing now. So, the sister is clearly distraught enough to seek out this man that she's never met.
Yep.
She vaguely knows of him, but it also shows that Marion was kind of keeping it a secret, almost revealing that maybe her little goody two-shoes she's not as goody two-shoes as we thought of in the first bits of the movie. So that she's always kind of had this little bit of a secretive or maybe not necessarily a crime background, but more so
she's made some bad choices.
She's going against the norms.
And here's the interesting part that I've seen a lot of essays talk about when talking about the codes of the time and this movie. Mm-hmm. One of the main critiques when this movie came out from critics, not fans, was Miriam's moral compass. They, because we were used to the codes of the time, felt that she was a little bit loosey-goosey and maybe, not up and up. And it wasn't necessarily just the fact she stole money. And it wasn't just the fact that he's a married man. There was a divorced man. But there was all of this compiling of, she's supposed to be close to her sister, but they don't talk about him. The family doesn't approve of him because they barely know he exists. There was all of these comparisons of how she would have been in the modern times, a pretty normal person.
But by that point very morally gray.
And that upset a lot of critics at the time. Fans did not have this issue. They raved and still love this movie.
Yeah.
But
critics are a stuffy bunch.
They are, and I mean, if you had spent a long time watching movies with this very particular set of code, and you're watching what was supposed to be the next great Alfred Hitchcock piece, this would have been a bit jarring for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about this movie 60 plus years after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different time.
Exactly. But it also really hard tracks that return to the crime thriller as PI detective Milton Abergast joins.
I love the name Milton. Not for a person, but it tickles my fancy to say.
Yeah. Well, it's also a way to re-bring up this now worthless MacGuffin that we know is at the bottom of the swamp.
Yes. And this is where a lot of people felt that the movie was probably going to start giving us more on Bates, because we've killed our main character. He would be the obvious replacement as main character material, but he's still very guarded.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very much so. And, like, I like with this bringing in the sister and the paranoia that the worst has happened.
Yes.
Brings up, like, this, okay, there are people who care for them. It ends up becoming, we don't really see a lot of true crime that's about the aftermath or the people who are left in the wake of the tragedies. It's usually a focus on either multiple victims or on the serial killer himself.
No, and this one does a great job of showing not only does her sister desperately want to find her, but Sam, despite, the time period of the day saying he's a morally gray man, he also cares deeply for her. He goes out of his way to, me and the sister, we don't really know each other, but, we'll do anything to find her.
Yeah, the mutual interest.
Exactly.
And even then, Abergast he's not an idiot detective. He's done well enough job to know that, hey, she might be hiding in a motel from the world. Like, he actually is a pretty good detective.
No, the theory that he comes up with does not feel like one of those outlandishly silly ones that a lot of crime movies end up with.
Exactly. And, when he meets Bates himself is a bit more jovial now. He has completely changed, at least in the very first encounter with Abergast. But that confidence, when he's pressured by someone with a slight authority, and with the right pressure, starts to crumble as he drops his formalities and his lies that really don't add up at all.
Yes.
Stammering to show his fragility. Fragility, and just that he is actually kind of a bit of a hick. He's not this serial killer mastermind that we've initially put in our head, or we know he's not a serial killer. I'm relating him to Ed Gein more so, but
here's the thing: it is implied that he is a serial killer.
Yeah, he thinks he's at least covered up for his mom enough that he should be confident in his lies.
Yes, and here's the other thing that I like a lot about this movie. This is a 60s movie, supposed to be true crime, and it's supposed to be lightly based off of real world encounters. And the number one reason that these serial killers in the 50s, 60s, and 70s went as long as they did was because police fucked it up. Royally.
That's a whole other topic.
It is. But it's one of the things that I love about Psycho, is while the investigator and later the sheriff are, they're suspicious because this is a grown-ass woman. She's been missing for 2 days and not even really missing. Oh, and she's the one who stole all that money.
It actually hasn't given a definitive time frame 100%.
No.
It might with when the sister and Sam check in, but I don't think it gives whether it's been a week or 2 weeks or... It's
implied not a long time. It sounds like...
It hasn't been months.
It has not been months, because the sister's only gone for, a weekend, a long weekend or something like that?
Yeah.
And she comes back and says, I was gone over the weekend, but I haven't heard from her since then.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, around a week, probably, which, I mean, she's a grown woman, she has her own apartment, a week, and she stole a bunch of money. Sounds like your sister maybe is on the run. Have you considered that?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that they account for all of these real-world scenarios, but at the end of the day, they do try and follow through. Yeah. They're not as useless as we find out in the real world, real-life crimes have happened because of.
No. Well, and on top of that, the tension with Abergast and Bates, while the lies do start to crumble, there's this tension that we as an audience know Marion's fate, and now the danger that Abergast is potentially in, because he's investigating this as a runaway case. And so, like, while we have this slight hesitation at Cabin 1, it's used to show that Mother's in the window, so that way...
So there's,
Bates,
again, that looming... Like, she sees all...
Norman and his mother are away, so the mother's maybe suspecting something. And I like that the PI is so not fooled by any of this, that he's like, okay, well, I've gotten to this, and I'm just following my train of thought. The only person who might know more is Mama Bates.
Exactly.
And so that's what forces him into this forbidden house and leads to his death, with a really cool shot of him being pushed down the stairs.
Oh, this is so well done. It did involve a very fun chair contraption that took, a week or two to make, let alone film in?
Yeah, they originally shot it, and Hitchcock came back and was like, no, this isn't what I want, so they had to reshoot it.
So this, it's a piece of equipment where he's in a chair, which is why it kind of looks like he's walking backwards down the stairs, or floating backwards down the stairs as he's falling. It's because he's sitting in essentially a chair with a really short back to keep him in it. And then the camera is also on the same trolley system with a pulley that then let them down the stairs. And it looks so good that it is one of the few times that a movie or TV show has shown, especially old-timey, they have shown someone falling down the stairs and dying because they fell down the stairs, and I have believed it.
Yeah.
This is one of the few times that a grown man, not some frail little old lady, has fallen down the stairs and I've been like, oh, I get it. Yeah, that looks like he broke his neck.
Very much so.
This is great. This is, and the suspense as we just make eye contact with him as he falls slowly down the stairs. Amazing.
Oh yeah, it feels like the Hans Gruber scene.
A little bit, yeah.
Because he's also shocked as well that, hey, he was just doing his job, and all he was there was to find a runaway, and now he's dead. Yeah. Which I do like that when it forces his death, while adding to the body count, forces Sam and Leela into having to pursue, like, okay, well, he told us about this motel, we gotta go there.
Yes.
And I like that while Leela's like, well, maybe he's just on his way back, Sam is much, much smarter, where he's like, it's kind of like, bitch, this is so far away that this guy's not driving there and back in a single night.
But I like, again, the loops in logic that both the sister and Sam talk themselves around in circles with. Because the sister is so paranoid, like, no, he would have called and said something. You said only an hour. It's been over an hour. It's been 3 hours. Sam then responds back with, well, no, he's probably busy. He's probably, on the hunt for her. He would have said something otherwise. Yeah. Like, they talk themselves in a very logical but panic circle that feels so realistic to how you would think about, oh, well, this guy said he was going to find my sister, and he sounded hopeful. He said he was on a lead. He said she had been there, and now nothing?
Yeah, it's a decent enough way to shift and continue the investigation.
And I love that the movie is a little bit self-aware about the time period code, because Layla grabs her keys and is like, all right, we get in the car, we're going sister hunting, and Sam's like, doing the 60s, no, you should stay here. Why? Oh, well, what if he comes back? No, get in the car.
Yep. And on top of that, like, while they're stopping to try and find the Bates Motel, there's that big shock that starts to build the mystery more, because they're told that the mom's dead of a murder-suicide.
And she's been dead 10 years!
And then, well, I know Hitchcock said it felt cheated because Bates sat down to have a conversation with his mother. He uses that, and this conversation happens off-screen.
Yes.
So, like, we hear him talking to his mother, but he's not actually, like, we don't ever see the mother. And it also is there to set up, like, the fruit seller of, like, hey, I'm going to put you down there, so that way people don't find out about you still.
Well, and here's one of the smartest little quick lines in this movie is from the sheriff. And, him and the wife are sitting there. She's forcing him to, be a real cop for a second. Call, double check, see if he's there. And finally, it's revealed, oh my gosh, she's been dead 10 years. Well, then they call and he goes, you know what? No, I believe you. Someone saw something in that window. And the next logical thing that I love is, well, if that's his mother in the window, who's in the cemetery?
Exactly.
Which is such a smart, way of keeping it from being this useless sheriff who refuses to help. It kind of keeps that polarity coming, but it brings you back around to, there must be a woman there. Someone is there.
There's more to this mystery than just, oh, the mom's a serial killer and the son's just the goody two-shoes picking up after her.
Especially if you have never seen this movie or never had it spoiled for you. My husband had the delight to experience this for the first time.
Awesome.
And he legitimately was got. He knew that he assumed that there was a woman up there. He just, until the very end, did not put it together. Granted, was he paying a lot of attention? No. But...
yeah.
He still got pretty good.
Still good to get a casual viewer.
I mean, even after all these years and all these people having written about it, talked about it, shown the scenes of this movie, I think if you are new to this movie can still get you.
Oh yeah, very much so. And, I mean, especially with, how relentless Sam and Leela are with trying to find the info when they're at the Bates Motel. How Bates is now more, because he's had people knocking, he's more protective of the book, where he's like, oh, we don't really use it, it's just kind of there if you want it, but it's not really necessary. And, Sam also in the mirror now with his double purposes of deceits, as well as while the sister searches. And it really puts them, it puts this doubt in their minds, because now Bates is trying to cover up his tracks.
Yes.
He's not doing their standard business practices of the times of, what you should be doing, of actually, signing into a guest book.
But he's trying to cover it up with the lies of, well, no one comes here. Mm-hmm. Oh, I change the sheets every Monday because, don't want dusty, musty rooms. Oh, but I don't use the book because nobody comes here.
Exactly. Where he's trying to keep up this, level of appearances that just aren't falling through once pressured again.
Yes.
Or aren't holding up once pressured again.
And here we get some of what I would argue is some of the smartest set design of the movie.
All right.
We follow the sister through the mansion.
We haven't gotten there just yet.
True. I'm obsessed with this mansion.
We do have the Cabin 1 investigation where the music is less intense, but it's there just a little bit to help the mystery as they investigate. And the only evidence they find is a piece of paper that still says $40,000 on it, and that the shower curtain's kind of funny because while he's covered his tracks a bit,
he hasn't put anyone up.
He's almost gotten to, he's not at that berserker phase yet, but he's forgetting to do these little things because
this meticulous stuff.
He's had the little bit of time that he should have been able to set this up, but also at the same time, maybe he saves Cabin 1 specifically for his victims.
I would assume so.
So maybe maybe the mother is in the cool down phase.
And also it is showing that he is getting a little sloppy, not just with his lies, but he doesn't fully clean the room quite right.
He's forgot where the wrench is.
He also didn't lock the room, which would have been a very easy way of keeping people out of Cabin 1, just being like, oh no, Cabin 1's closed for maintenance at the moment.
Yep.
Toilets clogged or some nonsense.
Very much so. And while when Leela approaches the house, now the house is, while still looming, this is the most intimate we've had. Mm-hmm. And it's so tense with so many mirrors.
There's so much happening, and yet this place is so empty.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a wonderful balancing act of grand, very clearly expensive stuff. Not overdone. It's not tacky. It's done in a very beautiful way.
That at one point the motel was successful or the house was successful.
Someone was making money at some point, and now it's just sitting here. And it does feel a little bit like it's rotting. You don't ever see it, but you kind of get that unlived-in feel. Yeah,
we have a little bit of the decay of, the American Gothic.
Yes, in the same way of, you can tell no one has sat on that front porch for a long time. That hallway does not seem to have had anyone entertain in it in years.
The indent of the body in the bed, or the shape of the body in a bed.
Which is a very nice touch, because it's not just a light indent of, regular use. Mm-hmm. And you have to remember, this mattress would have been probably down. So, like, this is an indent that is being regularly indented in.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is actively sleeping in this bed.
Very much so. And on top of that, like, we see that there's other livable rooms, but
There's only 2 that are lived in, though.
Exactly. But the thing is, like, the way it's revealed how Bates has been living
Yes. Wild.
is showing that maybe he wasn't, maybe part of the reason he is the way he is he wasn't treated super well, because whether he's either if he's regressed back when he goes back home into the house, he has to regress to a childlike state. He's sleeping in a child-sized bed with a very, like...
In a toddler room, essentially. Yep. Yeah.
Or that's how his mom forced him how to live.
And it is impossible to know which, but it is very interesting to note that the mother's bed, with that perfect human-shaped indent, implies that he is not the one sleeping in Mother's room.
No.
This shrine to Mother is just for her corpse, not for Bates to pretend to be Mother in.
Oh, very much so. Like, that's what helps build that mystery so much more and makes Bates more interesting, because he's also not stupid. He's had this silence that's going on a little too long, and so that's why he knocks out Sam and runs back up to the house. So it's like, okay, well, now we're closing in on Mother, but also now Bates is coming in, so or Norman's coming in.
And she gets that one... She's so close to being able to escape and say, like, wow, this place is really weird, we do need to come back. And instead... curiosity gets her, and she goes, well, there's one place I haven't looked yet.
The fruit cellar.
The basement.
Solid mummy. And man, that shock of him coming around the corner in like the
wig.
Yeah, the wig and like the nightgown.
And the knife, the big-ass knife.
It's that kind of like, it's an oh shit moment of like, okay, the mom didn't kill my sister, or we realized Marion didn't die because of that. Bates killed her.
But
Norman.
The turnaround of Crispy Mom is fantastic.
Oh, it's so great.
Because here's the thing. Is it, by today's standards, a little corny? Like, yeah. I mean, it's clearly a prop. It's a very beef jerky style prop. But it still is a little scary. And here's the thing that I love about it. Is Hitchcock wanted to kind of run some test runs. See which Crispy Mommy would be the scariest Crispy Mommy. And so he had multiple moms made... and would regularly hide them around sets where the actress would run into them. And he would then gauge her gasp off of, like, oh, that was a good mom. So, like, she had seen multiple moms up until this point. Some mixed reviews on whether or not this was the first time she saw this specific version of mom.
Yeah.
Or if she'd seen this one and just kind of was like, okay, I know what reaction he wants now. But she reportedly on set was a good sport and played along with his shenanigans well.
Yeah.
But he had several crisp moms hiding around set.
Yeah, well, I also think it's an intense moment because we've seen Sam knocked out, and we've seen what happened to her sister, so is the same fate gonna befall her until Sam comes in and saves overpowers, the day. Yeah.
And honestly, this is an interesting moment because we see how strangely lucky Bates has been up until this point. Because Bates is not a super strong guy, and he has managed to overpower essentially a very, like, thin woman, but supposed to be a bit more powerful woman. She's, very adventurous. She's not your everyday damsel. And then he honestly accidentally kills a private investigator, someone who should have been able to overpower him based off of this scene. And this is where he finally gets his comeuppance because he doesn't have that surprise factor to take his victim out with.
Yeah, and I think that after they've apprehended him, we don't really care about the 2 survivors because we have to...
No, because honestly, like, even though she's dead, we had a main character and we are still thinking about her.
Yeah, and we have to, like, explain, like, okay, well, what was going on with Bates? I mean, we're got to deal with some pop psychology of split personalities and, like, okay, he's a serial killer because there's at least 2 more missing cases that are tied to him.
Yeah.
But I think there's an interesting thing here instead of just the psychologist explaining it. It's the fact that there's this shift in Bates's character where it ends up painting his mom in a little bit of a more horrible picture where...
Yes.
I mean, everyone around the story had it wrong, but that personality ends up retreating into Norman, so that way he can take the fall.
Yes.
And that way he can put the mask on of like, hey, I'm just this mama's boy that I was just cleaning up after her. No one could hurt. He couldn't even hurt a fly.
Exactly.
And so it's his retreating to make her the bad guy in his mind, that he didn't do it.
And the ending is so clever. Because, again, similar to how we heard our main character in her head giving, like, oh, I saw her running away. Oh, I saw her that day changing cars. Oh, I drove by her. He's doing the same thing and logicking his way through, oh, I'm such a sweet old lady, I won't even swat this fly. Yep. I won't do anything. He'll take the full fall for me. They'll never get it. And it's one of the most interesting pieces of crime-based cinema I think almost ever produced. Because it manages, without either being too clinical or too dramatized, like really pierce in to someone truly unthinkable's mind. And not do it in like this gross way or this shocking way, but to have that contradiction of this person is so split, they can't comprehend that they are one and the same person. And no matter who takes the fall, you're both going to jail because you live in the same body.
Yeah, it's not like the movie Split where every personality is aware of each other. No, for the most part.
And while this movie is a 60s movie, and we now know more about real-world mental health problems that involve split personality disorder, this movie does do a more interesting job of handling that than, honestly, a lot of even more modern movies that have that knowledge. This one does it in a very artsy way.
Yeah, and I personally think that if you went into this not knowing anything about the story, the reveal that Bates is being his mother and the main character dying halfway through the movie, it is a rather shocking moment.
It is. Oh, 100% it is. And it's one of those storylines that is so interesting to then just sit back and think about, that it really does increase the likelihood that you're going to come back and watch this a little sooner than maybe a normal thriller would.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to discredit Hitchcock for this because it is a fantastic movie still.
It is.
I think we grew up in an era where so many directors have tried to do this.
Absolutely.
To the point where it's not shocking. I mean, look at every single M. Night Shyamalan movie is some kind of twist or attempted subversion of your expectations.
And that's the thing. This is one of those movies where you know there is going to be a twist. The twist that happens is one that I don't think anyone could have saw coming. And honestly, even if you did manage to catch the second twist of him being his own mom in some form, even if you managed to catch that one, the way it's handled, the detail in which they, go through, and they even wrap up the film talking about, no, he will be spending 20 years, no parole option, minimum.
He'll be in a mental institution forever at this point.
Exactly. There is repercussions that come even with knowing all of this wild stuff about this person.
Exactly. And while he is a murderer, he still ends up becoming this bit of a tragic victim of his own mother, and like a little bit of, you feel sympathy towards him of like, yes. Okay, well, he probably didn't have a great life growing up.
No, you can assume so much because partially being based on the real world, he's uncomfortably accurate. And that's one of the brilliance of this, is that they don't shy away from that. They don't make him so unfathomably evil that little sliver of pity wanes out against, like, well, no, he's, the devil incarnate. Yeah. You still battle with that.
And they don't go full Silence of the Lambs with the woman suit like Ed Gein.
Oh, exactly.
Too much into the gruesome details. Because it's, like we've said, it's the 60s. They have limitations. It's shocking enough that he's a serial killer that is pretending to be, or using his mom the mother personality to kill.
And this, coming from someone who loves a horror film, and definitely a gory horror film, I would argue that because this one is, especially by nowadays standards, incredibly tame with its violence, its gore, and its horror, and it just focuses so strongly on that psychological portion of it, this is a more withstanding piece than a lot of those more horror-based movies, or those ones that are trying to shock you.
Yeah, like, man, what was it? There was one I watched a long time ago. It's called Spec. Based off Richard Speck.
Of course.
Horrible movie that ends up just, like, ripping off a bunch of other serial killers, because Speck is boring as shit.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This guy has essentially one interesting element. The rest of him is this nondescript, boring guy. He runs an unused motel.
Yeah.
And this movie does such a good job of keeping the audience entertained, but not on a goose chase. It's not adding fluff where it's not needed. It's not adding red herrings where they're not needed. It thinks about itself in a logical fashion. This is a fantastic mystery, let alone anything else.
Yeah, I think part of it too is it makes him such a normal person instead of, I know that's been the trend with a lot of these true crime shows and
is really going ham
miniseries.
on how wild and crazy evil they were.
Not necessarily just that, but also the handsomifying of...
Yes. Well, here's the thing. I think this is doing what a lot of those wished they spoke a little bit better about. Because there is a lot of people, even when this came out, who did mention that Bates is a handsome guy. And he is. The actor is well known. He is a very handsome actor who played many romance roles. And they didn't necessarily turn down any of that. They just didn't play up any of it.
Yeah.
And so I think this is where a lot of those were aiming for, and instead it's gotten more and more, in the same way that the horror has gotten more and more, and the gore has gotten more and more.
Well,
it's all of it has moved unbelievable. And that includes how charming these guys are.
And I think one thing that's interesting is, so Anthony Perkins,
yes,
his son is Osgood Perkins.
I'm well acquainted with the name.
Who recently wrote and directed Longlegs.
Yes,
so
which, you know,
has a lot of true crime elements too. So it's kind of interesting seeing his
version. Yeah.
Yeah, just the carry of that through real life generations.
Oh, absolutely. And this movie did such a good job of balancing all of these elements, the mystery, the horror, the drama of it all wrapped so perfectly balanced, well directed, well shot, well acted. This almost immediately became a pinnacle film for how to try and do a psychological thriller.
Yeah, well, and I mean, by this point, yeah, people changed their mind. I mean, people probably didn't, or maybe hadn't seen, because I think it came out in 27.
Yeah.
But The Lodger is another really good true crime.
Yes.
Jack the Ripper era.
Styling, yes.
So, like, Hitchcock had that from the get-go.
Oh, absolutely. There was definitely others that came before it, and there are plenty that are still really good, but none of them quite had the visual staying power, where even if you forgot elements of the story, or you weren't really into the movie-making industry, so this behind-the-scenes stuff is boring to you, just the way that it's filmed, the stills that come out of it, something from this movie stuck with you. And that happened across the nation. I mean, this, again, well publicized. People were excited to see it. It made plenty of money when it came out.
I mean, it's been, rebooted a couple times? I know there's a couple sequels.
So here's the thing. All of the stuff that happened with Psycho came out after Alfred Hitchcock's death. He never wanted to continue this story.
As there shouldn't have been.
I agree, but here's the thing. It was remade 1998. The remake is fine, but I honestly don't think it handled it nearly as well as this one did. There is a made-for-TV movie spin-off that came out in 1987. It's fine. And then the one that I think most people probably know about today is the TV series Bates Motel, which is based off of this, but not necessarily like a sequel or a remake. So,
yeah,
you know,
I haven't seen any of them. Yeah, three sequels.
And let's be very clear, they're fun. If that's your thing, they try and keep these psychological twists coming, but you can't top this.
No.
And so they're all just a little disappointing. But they are fun if you desperately need something to do for a weekend.
Maybe at some point, but I've got
put
too
it
much
low
on
your
my
list. Put it low on your list.
It is.
And, I've heard good things about the TV series, but honestly, TV's not really my thing. And if I'm being really honest, thriller TV is really not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer a movie where it's wrapped up in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Which,
very Pompo the Cinephile of you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but he was right!
So then, Chris, on our good, bad, weird scale, what would you rate Psycho?
This is the goodest of good.
Okay.
The top goodiest good. I know there's weird stuff in it. I don't think it's a weird movie.
No.
And I would argue that there is no bad in this movie.
No.
So, tippity top, good.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's good, 100% good, just because, we say there's weird, but it just imitates real life, which
is weird,
but also just gross. So it's not like,
and honestly,
it's not a stretch.
And especially for you and I, who have done plenty of research into the actual humans who do these gruesome acts.
Oh yeah,
I would argue this is tame compared to them and their nipple belts.
So tame, so tame.
So yeah, I totally see where you're coming from there.
Yeah. So then, Chris, do you recommend Psycho?
Absolutely, I recommend Psycho. And even if you have seen Psycho at some point, it honestly is a good rewatch. I rewatched it 3 times in the span of 1 week, and I enjoyed it every time I watched it. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I highly recommend it. I mean, even if you've seen it before, there's a reason this one has stuck around so long and why it's worth revisiting.
Yes.
I mean, just the shower scene alone, like you said, was one of the most reviewed analyzed scenes in film history.
Yes.
And there's a good reason, because it does suspense so well. The whole movie does that too.
Oh, absolutely. And if you liked any of the over-top topics we talked about, we only brushed on them. There are multiple college-level essays that I tried to finish reading. I only got through 6 of them, where people are describing this, explaining how it connects back with other movies, real-life people, what the camera angle means here or there, what the water flowing, the different thematics that come back through, what each bird represents in the room.
The hoity-toity college papers.
And honestly, this is one of those ones where they were really fun to read.
Yeah.
Normally, those are maybe a bit over the top and not for everyone, but this is one of those ones where, honestly, doing a weekend deep dive on this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I definitely highly agree with that, so I definitely recommend it. So, but that's Psycho. I'm very excited for our next mic review. That's another American Psycho.
Of course.
Before we go international and do a few memorable murders.
There's a murder everywhere. Brings us together.
Yeah, unfortunately. But, anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace!